Finish a touch early because we started late. All right. So today is going to be Sunday, almost Chavav Nisan, Tafshin Tes, right? And it is happens to be, according to some, the yahrzeit of Yehoshua bin Nun, the great Joshua. So according to some, it's in Lag BaOmer, but most people believe that it's tonight. So I guess in his memory, and also in memory of Lori Kay, right? Lori Kay. I don't know her Hebrew name, but
you want me to get it for you?
Said her name was.
that's yeah. Anyway. So we are learning Shmuel I, the prophet Shmuel, the first book, chapter 6, verse 9. And we are in the midst of a very interesting situation. Interesting and sort of not flattering. The Ark of the Covenant was captured by the Philistines in a war. The war, by the way, happened around Elul time. Elul, maybe beginning of Tishrei. And they captured it in a war and held on to it for 7 months. Throughout the 7 months, they were hit with all kinds of trouble due to their inability to understand that they should not be holding the Ark of the Covenant of the Jews. So it went from city to city, and in each city trouble ensued, became more and more severe. First, their god, their idol was hit, and then people, the adults got sick, and then the young one got sick, and then people start dying. So they ended up in the city of Ekron. And in the city of Ekron, it was it's called Mehumat Mavet. It was like a chaos, deathly chaos. And with that deathly chaos, they decided to it's time to ship it back. So they called the priests, they called the magicians of the local magicians, who together devised a plan, and they knew whether they should send back the ark. Is the plague that they got, the problems that they're having because of the ark, or and if they do, what should they do? How they going to repent, so to speak? How they're going to ship back the ark with enough gifts to the God of the covenant? The ark belongs to him. What gifts they're going to send back. And they were told very clear that they need to send something. And they created a modification, an alteration to the ark. They added a box next to it. And in that box, they deposited idols or images of not idols, they didn't worship those idols, just images of mice. The mice were they had a plague of mice, the rampant, that would destroy their field and go into their houses and all kinds of other places, and images of hemorrhoids, whatever that means, and they with those because that's the plague that they got, and with those images or those icons they put in the box, and they ship the box with the ark. They ship the whole thing back. Now, how did they ship it? This is exactly where we're standing, and they were still hedging. They were still not sure if they should really ship it back, even though they had a problem. They had problems. They were debating whether the reason they're being hit, the reason they're getting the plague and death, is it because of the ark, or it's because of some other sin, old sin that they did before, and the ark is just a vehicle to deliver to them that problem. Which in turns, now that the problem is here, sending the ark is not going to help. If the problem is because of an old sin, the problem is not going to go away if you send the ark. The ark was a delivery mechanism. Whether that was just a delivery mechanism for the punishment or it was the reason for the punishment.
How come they didn't destroy or desecrate it?
Yeah, there was never any discussion of that.
No, they were very religious people in their religion, and they really honor a whole bunch of different gods and different idols. And for them it was a question, is my God bigger than your God? Which God is stronger? They would not desecrate the God, and we will see in a little bit that they were commended for it in the language of the Bible. They were commended in a very, oddly, but very, very special way. We will see it in the next verse. Now, as they were shipping back the ark, they were conducting a test to know again if it's really the ark that's the problem. The ark is just a vehicle for the problem, for the punishment, and they stuck up against the ark a whole bunch of conditions in the shipping methods. They chose cows that were never worked the field before. So it will be hard for them to pull the wagon with the ark. They chose a wagon, which is a brand new wagon, which is not, the wheels are not, broken into. So it will be hard for the wagon to move. They chose cattle that has the cows that they chose had children, had calves, and they would hold the calves back at home right behind the cows and aim the cows towards the area of the Jews and say, let's go, which is naturally not something that the cow would ever do. A cow will go where the calf is. So if the children is behind, they will never continue forward. So they were stacking all the conditions against them going straight. And on top of it, they also did not send any leader to lead the cows. Typically an animal, a driver that either walks ahead or sit on a wagon, none of that. Just go. So the likelihood that they will just happen to go to the Jewish area to return the ark is minuscule, is nil. And if that's to happen, that means really that the ark belongs over there, and so on. So that's the test that they stuck up against the ark. So that's where we stand. So we are now in the middle of the instructions that the priests and the magicians are telling them what to do. So they told them that to take chose the specific cows and choose the wagon and put the box and send it and put those images, those icons, those golden icons that you're going to create as a gift. And that's where we are in Vav Tet in this chapter 6, verse 9. Uritem im derech gvulo ya'aleh bet shemesh. And you're going to see and examine. Will the cows go to Bet Shemesh? Now, mind you, Bet Shemesh was not what?
It's on the Jordan.
No, Bet Shemesh is on the Jordan. No,
Bet
no.
Shemesh.
Bet Shemesh is near Yerushalayim, closer to Yerushalayim than to the sea, and it was a relatively close town to the area of the Philistines, but it wasn't the first town. So the question is, why are they sending it Bet Shemesh? And the rabbis tell us that Bet Shemesh is the first town from that direction that belongs to the tribe of Judah. Now, the ark supposed to be where Judah is. Now, until now, the ark was in Shiloh, which is not Judah, which is Joseph, right? It's Yosef, it's Bnei Ephraim, right? But apparently between Bet Shemesh and the Philistines, there was not Ephraim, there was the tribe of Issachar, according to some. So everybody agrees that the tribe of Issachar is not the one that's supposed to have, not supposed to have it. But even if they could have sent it to the tribe of Ephraim, they didn't. They chose to send it to the tribe of Judah. And indeed, we see that from the moment the ark returned, it did not leave the area of Judah. It's still there till this very day. Wherever it was always in the parcel of land that belongs to Judah. So this moment in history is marking the change from the rule of the sons of Joseph that started with Yoshua, who is from the tribe of Ephraim, and that's where the ark was from that time on, from his time on, to the rule of Judah. Very, very interesting that's how it was. The ark went out of sort of over, outside of the country to the Philistines and came back to the second place. It did not go directly from Joseph to Judah. It went through the Philistines. So that's why they were aiming to. Now, how did they know that? I don't know. That's why they're magicians and not me. But that's why they were aiming to do that. So let's see if it goes to if the ark and the cattle are taking the ark to Bet Shemesh. So hu asalanu itarazo. Then you will see. If that's indeed what will happen, you will know that the ark is the reason, is the cause for the problem. And if that's not what's going to happen, somehow the cows are going to wander back to their babies, or they're going to just go stray somewhere, or they're going to get stuck, whatever, they're not going to arrive at their destination, we will know that it's just a coincidence that the ark is here and we're being punished, and we should not be, giving it back. Now, this is the talk, the speech of the instructions of the magicians and the Kohanim. It seems that they were hedging several times over. The common people, the Philistines, they knew that they need to get rid of it. And they were suffering, and they did not, but so the magicians and the priests did not want to go against the commoners, because, in those days, it's not going to end up well for the minority. So, but they still felt that they need to hedge, and they can't, with a full mouth, send the ark. And then 2 weeks later, people will come and tell them, how come you send the ark? I mean, it's our greatest possession, after so many years. We got the best stuff that the Jews have, and now you let it go. So they were hedging. All right, next. Vayasua anashim ken. So the people, the commoners, the Philistines, did exactly that. And this is where the Tanakh is praising them. We're calling them anashim. There are 4 words to describe a human being. Adam, Ish, Enosh, Gever, right? And anashim is the highest one. Barnasha, right? Is the anashim. When you call a human being in that term, Ish or anashim, that means that they are people of that command respect. And this is the payment that they got for the respect that they demonstrated, the commoners that demonstrated towards the Ark of the Covenant. So they did what the priests and the magicians suggested to them. Vayikchu shtei parot alot. So they took 2 cows that never work the fields. Vayasrum ba'agala, and they tied them, they hooked them to the wagon. Ve'et bneihem kalu b'bayit, and they held their sons behind in the house. Okay, as we said, in order to give them all the reason in the world to go back and not to go back and not to go forward to the Jews. There is an interesting comment here that's that we should discuss. Later on, we will see in a couple of verses that those cows were brought as a sacrifice to God. Once it arrived at the Jewish borders, and it arrived at Bet Shemesh, they took those cows and they brought them as sacrifice to God. And there is a whole discussion in the Gemara, how come they did that. It starts with the assumption, with the statement that you cannot sacrifice a cow, or an ox for that matter, that used to belong to a Gentile, a non-Jew, because it might have been used as accessory for idol worship, and also for sexual relationships, but mainly for idol worship. And so that's what we said, that that's the halacha. But the Gemara is asking, we see here that those are cows that used to belong to the Philistines, and then they ended up as a sacrifice. That was one question. So the answer to that was that it was a special occasion, because those cows demonstrated the ability to perform such a nest, such a miracle, because they went against all odds and they ended up going in the right place. So such holy cows, such special cows are worthy. They cannot be that they were used for idol worship, and it was a special permission, a permit that was one-time permit to overcome this ruling and not sacrifice an animal that used to belong to a non-Jew. And they're bringing a proof that it was a special case from this pasuk, from the fact that they had babies, that they had calves. That means they're female. And we know that the general ruling is that a sacrifice has to be male, not a female, for various reasons. We don't want to end up with 2 animals if it's pregnant, and there are various reasons for it. But a male, that cannot be pregnant, so sacrifice usually is a male. And here we see that they were clearly female. So again, it's a clear indication that it was, we overrode the system just this once for that purpose.
Does it make a difference that they were nursing?
No. Actually, nursing, no, it doesn't. Anyway, so
why would they make a mention of it then?
What do you mean?
It said they have 2 nursing cows. Why did they make a mention of its nursing?
Because that's a good reason for the cow to go back to the calves.
Right, so
the calves need that. Yeah, for sure. Because an adult cow does not does not go with a calf. I mean, even though they're related, they after bar mitzvah they just don't. That's it. Goodbye. They went to college and gone. All right. Vayasimu et aron Hashem al ha'agala. So they put the Ark of the Covenant on that wagon, vet ha'argaz, and that extra box that they devised and connected to the Ark. And in that box, they put vetach barei hazav etzel metach horeim, and they put the images, those icons, those golden mice, and the images of their hemorrhoid. They put there in that box, and they sent the box over and they let it go. So what did the cows do? The cows, וישרנה הפרות בדרך על דרך בית שמש במסילה אחת הלכו הלוך וגאו. So the cows going straight to Bet Shemesh. One path. No, they're not veering right or left. They are all determined. There is no two ways about it. Now, when they're going, they didn't move. They didn't move right or left. It says that they aloch v'gao v'lo sar yamin u'smol, right? That they didn't veer to either side. They didn't, according to some, they didn't even go on the road because the road bends back and forth, right, in between the hills. They went straight as a like a straight line. So that was a real indication. And some say that they didn't veer off the road, even though the road bent. But either way, they went straight. Now there is a very interesting discussion here about the first word in this verse, Vaisharna. Vaisharna is an odd word because it's a mix of male and female. The Yud indicate a male, and the Nun Hey at the end indicate a female. So one explanation is that they went straight. That's the common understanding of it, but it's still a very strange word. Excuse me. The other explanation is that they were singing. They were singing. Their shir is also yashar, is straight. Shir is singing. They were singing. The cows were singing to God as they were going. So why is the different form of male and female in the word? Because the calves at home were singing with them. So you have the female cows and the male calves singing in unison to God. Now, let's the same Gemara that we mentioned before, in a little later in the Gemara, a couple of pages later, is discussing that song, which is very interesting. I just found it interesting. What song did they sing? What language did they sing it in? It's all being discussed. It's awesome. So there are six opinions as to what they sang. Ronnie, that's the last opinion, right? So what?
I said it wasn't pig Latin. They weren't pigs.
So one explanation is that they sang as Yashir Moshe, the same song that Moshe sang in the demise of, and the Jews together with Moshe sang when what? Out of Egypt. They sang here as well. Now, why that song? Because in that song, if you recall, it says, "Shamu ami mirgazon chilachash yeshvei plashet," that the nations got all trembled, all upset, and the inhabitants of Pleshet, which is Philistines, right? They were trembling. So when we came out of Egypt, I mean, which Philistines exactly were trembling? I mean, the sound went all over the world, and people heard it, and they were trembling all over the world. But the fact that it's mentioning Pleshet specifically, it's because the cows were singing it as well. That's one explanation. Another explanation is that there is a one chapter in Psalms, in Tehillim, that's called the orphan mizmor, the orphan song. It's number 98, Tzadik Chet, and we sang it every Shabbos in Kabbalah Shabbos. And what's the orphan about it? There are a couple of things. Number one, it's not said who said it. Now, a lot of songs in Tehillim don't say who said it. Some say Mizmor LeAsaf, Mizmor LeDavid, but not all of them. But it also is not, we're not being told what is the occasion that this song was sung about. Now, there are several others that also are unknown to us why they're being told, but none of them is a mizmor. None of them is starting with the word mizmor. So this is the orphan mizmor. This is the one that we don't know it's a mizmor, which is a special type of song, and we don't know who said it, and we don't know what about. And yet we're singing it every Kabbalat Shabbat, all Jews all over the world. So some say that it's those yummy cows that were singing that song. And there are several other some says Tzadik Tet, 99, some of the in Tehillim, some of them said Tzadik 93. There are several others, and some say that it was an original song. Roni, which is what you mentioned, it's an original song that discusses the exact event that happened here. In any event, now, it's very nice to say that the cow sang. What language is this? Who heard them singing? What are we talking about here? So there are three different ways of...
What language did the Philistines talk?
Philistines, I don't know.
Probably
Cows
Greek
came
based.
from?
Something Greek-based, but not Greek.
That's where the cows came from.
So there is one. There is also a question. We say in the Ethics of the Fathers in Avot, there is a listing of all the exceptions that God created right before Shabbos and the sixth day of creation, right before Shabbos. There are a few exceptions that God created. One of the exceptions is the donkey that belongs to Bilam, because he opened and was telling Bilam, why are you hitting me, right? So he was talking to him in a language that Bilam understood. So that was an exception, because usually donkeys don't talk. So, but we don't mention over there those cows, the singing cows, So if it's such an exception, so the most easy way of looking at it is that they were singing it in their language, in the cow language. And we know from Kabbalah, from the Zohar, and from several locations in the Gemara, that creatures have all kinds of languages. Animals have their language. Palm trees have language, the Siachat Kalim. So each species would have their own language. What does it mean? I mean, we have nowadays a lot of researchers and scientists that are publishing all kinds of, they tell you how dolphins are communicating, our whales are communicating, and it's common knowledge nowadays. So apparently they use that language to sing. That's one explanation. Another explanation is that they did use Hebrew, and why is the exception not mentioned? That God created the exception on the day before, right before Shabbos and the days of creation, because it says that He did actually create an exception, and the exception was when He created that talking donkey. And a talking donkey the exception was not this specific donkey only, it's any animal that would speak in the future, which includes those animals, those cows. And the Maharal is saying a whole different, different, more rational view, saying that by virtue of them walking the way they walked, that was the song. It wasn't a song with specific words that they said, but their actions were speaking volumes, so to speak, and that was the song. Whichever way it was, they were going straight, and they're arriving at Bet Shemesh.
So why they sacrifice these singing cows? They should have.
Where? They didn't know. They didn't hear, because nobody went with them.
It wasn't in the top 10.
It wasn't in the top 10, right, exactly. They didn't have a golden record yet. So, Vesranei Plishtim, this is very interesting. Vesranei Plishtim holchim achreim ad gvul Bet Shemesh. The 5 governors, the 5 leaders of the Philistines, right, one per major city, were walking behind the cows to see where they go, because it was their responsibility to help their people, and they wanted to know for sure what happened, what's going on with it. Are the cows going? I mean, we stuck all the conditions against them. Are they going to overcome it or not? So they were going behind them to see, and it's a big, it's a lot of miles. It's a couple of tens of miles, 20, 30 miles. It's not close. So that's what they did, and then the cows arrived at Bet Shemesh. What happened in Bet Shemesh? Bet Shemesh kotzrim ktsir chitim ba'emek. So the Bet Shemeshites were harvesting, and the harvest is happening right after Pesach, right? This is how we know that the war happened 7 months earlier in Elul or Tishrei, right? Because that's where we are now. So they were performing they were working on the harvest in the valley. Bet Shemesh is sort of on a valley, and Bet Shemesh is on a little mountain, a little hill, but the valley before that, that's where the people were. Vayisu et aneim, and they're raising their eyes. Vayiru et Aaron, and they saw the ark. Vayismechu lirot, and they were very happy to see it. Very, very, sort of. It sounds very calm. They were doing something. They were not jumping out of their pants. They were continue their harvesting, and they were very happy to see it. So we will see soon. I mean, probably next time we meet, that they would be punished severely for not really going all the way and giving all the honor that the ark deserves. The Medrash is saying that was an indication of a problem with the entire nation. They were not so excited. They didn't go crazy after they lost the ark.
Yeah, you'd
They
think that
did.
with all the hemorrhoids, that'd be a perfect time to attack.
They would not do anything. They were so
It's
stuck.
like in Shechem.
They were so stuck, and they were afraid, or they didn't care, or the combination of that, and they just didn't do it, which was terrible. And then when the ark arrived, they said, "Oh, great, it's here. Thank you very much." This is not a reception for they should all left everything that they did and gather and make a whole big party and do the right thing, and which they didn't do. Now there is even a medrash that says that some people were talking bad and negatively about the ark, saying, "Oh, thank you for coming. Like, where were you all this time? You couldn't manage to get here earlier." In a very...
The cows weren't ready.
The cows weren't ready. I mean, in a very disgusting way, I would say, unfortunately. Anyway, a whole bunch of those people ended up getting punished very severely, which we'll see next time. So, והעגלה באה אל שדה יהושע בית השמשי. So the wagon continued to roll, even though the people saw it already, it continued to walk unhindered, and they didn't gathered around it or anything. They just let it go, which very, I can't imagine, but I guess there were people like us, and we should imagine. So the Agalau, the wagon was still rolling, continued to roll, El Sdei Yoshua Bet HaShimshi, to some specific lot in Bet Shemesh, not the first one, something more inland. Mr. Yoshua, and it was in Bet Shemesh. Vata'amot sham, and over there, the cow stopped. The wagon stopped, the ark stopped, that's where it landed, that's where it stopped. Vesham Even Gdolah, and it was right there was a very big rock, a very big bedrock. And that rock existed till this very day, the day that the book was written, which was a couple of 12 years later. But that rock was where they ended up unloading the goods, unloading the ark, and that's where they created the altar, because when you are harvesting, the field is dry, right? If you're going to make exactly where it stops, in an altar and fire, the whole place is going to go up in flames. So that's why they had this rock. So ויבקעו את עצי העגלה, so they broke the wagon, they used the wood from the wagon, ואת הפרות העלו עולה להשם, and they brought those cows as sacrifice to God. Now, who brought this?
Was there any peril in removing the ark from the wagon?
It's the next.
You're not supposed to.
That's the next verse.
Okay.
The next verse.
And the leaders of the 5 cities, they stay behind, or
No. So who actually did the sacrifice? So the rabbis are telling us that those 5 leaders were the ones to sacrifice those cows. They sacrificed their own cows, which solve our other problem that the Jews didn't bring a Gentile cow as a sacrifice. They brought other cows, their own. They did do a celebration, but the actual cows were slaughtered and brought in, sacrificed by those leaders of the Philistines. Now, והלוויים, we will talk next time about the fact that they were able to see the ark. It says in Pasuk in verse 13, ויראו את הארון, they saw it. Now, seeing the ark is a problem. It's not allowed, and we will talk exactly, we'll elaborate next time. But what I want to mention now is that part of the trap that the Philistines did is they knew that we're not allowed to look at it because we were carrying it to the war covered. And they captured it while it was covered. They sent it covered. And those 5 people who went behind it made sure to uncover it as it was going into the fields of the Jews, into the fields of Bet Shemesh. So we will have no choice but to look at the ark, because you lift your eyes and it's right there. What are you going to do? And they knew that is a problem for the Jews. I'm not sure if they knew exactly how and when. We will talk about it next time. But the bottom line is that they sort of trapped us. And they created a whole load of problems for us. But the question that you had is, how did we handle the ark? This is what we're reading now. והלוויים הורידו את ארון השם. So the Levites, who were the ones who were qualified to handle the ark, they took the ark and ואת הארגז and the box אשר איתו, אשר בו כלי זהב, the box that was with it and that had those golden icons. וישימו על האבן הגדולה, and they put it on that big stone, on the bedrock. ואנשי בית שמש העלו עולות. And now the people of Bet Shemesh, the Jews, are bringing the sacrifices. So that is the proof that the previous sacrifices was not by them. It was by the 5 Sranei Plishtim, 5 leaders of the Philistines. So ואנשי בית שמש העלו עולות ויזבחו זבחים. They brought the sacrifices, עולות and זבחים, that's shlamim, ויזבחו זבחים. So they had 2 types of sacrifices. They had the sacrifices which is holy, burned to God on the altar, and they had the sacrifices which is shared, shlamim, that part of it is being eaten by the altar, and part of it is being eaten by the priests, and part of it is being eaten by the people who brings it. Bayom Ha'ul Hashem. So that's what they do with the ark. And what happened to the 5 leaders of the Philistines? V'chamisha sanei Plishtim ra'u. So they saw everything that happened over there. Vayashuvu ekron bayom ha'u. And they turned back and they went home. Now, if someone would be a witness to such an extraordinary event of what happened with those cows and how they went straight and how they didn't veer and against all odds, and they arrived exactly there and they stopped where they were supposed to stop, and it was an amazing event. What would you do? I mean, normal people will just run to tell their people, and God is the true God, and the God of the Jews, and let's all do tshuva, let's all convert. They will do something. What they did, because they so were seeped in idol worship, they just went home. After all of that extraordinary event, it was a very, very strange reaction. And now he's enumerating who actually brought the golden gifts. So he starts with the hemorrhoid, the golden hemorrhoids. Asher Eshivu Plishtim, that the Philistines gave. They Asham LaHashem, so they gave it as a gift to God. They were on account of those 5 major cities: LeAshdod echad, LeAza echad, LeAshkelon echad, LeGat echad, LeEkron echad. All those 5 cities: Ashdod, Aza, Ashkelon, Gat, and Ekron. Each one of them gave one. We're going to stop here because the rabbi is here, but we will continue next time. And